All right, so to keep everybody moving, I ask for a motion to open the meeting.
You don't need a motion. All you have to do is open the meeting.
Open the
You're
meeting.
the boss.
I'm like, not the boss today. Okay, we'll pledge allegiance to that flag or that flag?
Is there another?
Good news is that next meeting, there'll be a real one.
Okay, look, start it, Frank.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we got the meeting called to order, and it's like probably 6:05 or something like that. We're gonna try to run through this in an hour, because I don't know if you have open house or anything going on over there. Get you out of here.
Oh, I'm good, but
Okay.
I am okay with leaving this team
Okay.
and getting home to rest.
Me too, I'm getting out of work.
It's also a ball game.
All right, well, what ball game's on?
Patriots game tonight.
Yeah, right.
Oh, they're gonna lose, who cares?
I don't know, it's against the Jets, they have a chance.
Okay, so, I don't have a copy of the agenda, I don't know if anybody else does.
I haven't seen it.
All right, so we'll just guess. New, old business, old business. Anybody got anything?
Probably comments first.
Oh, public comment, but I don't have any public.
Yeah, you just walk by.
I do have something to share, but I have to go copy something first, I realize, so I'll be right back down and I will bring that with me.
So you want public comment?
Public comment or during new business, whatever you prefer.
We could do new business. so
Okay,
we
I'll
can
be
do
right back.
moment.
You
Okay,
shut the door.
so I think new business is you, John, well, John's got it in a minute.
These
Oh,
are the
business.
ones.
Okay.
That was the missing MIA minutes from
From the
August
29th.
29th.
Do we wanna approve these in old business?
I'll make a motion that we do that.
Okay, so the
August
minutes.
29th minutes, and should we do the September?
Second one.
We'll do, let's do both
separately,
minutes, okay. Why we got the, so let's, we have a motion on the floor for the minutes of August 29th. Do I have a second?
Yes, I seconded it.
Okay, I'm sorry, Frank.
Okay,
I'm not listening to you, I guess.
I know.
And,
After all these
Well,
years,
we'll see.
nothing changed.
after, all those in the affirmative.
Aye.
I've got a comment on that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You've listed me as being in attendance. I was on vacation.
Okay, John, was he in
Other than that, I'm not going to comment on the content of them because I wasn't here.
How could this happen?
August 29th, okay.
So
So
with
just
that
strike
amended,
the
I'll
amendment.
move that we accept with that amendment.
Right, with the amended.
I pulled the whole thing out. I wouldn't put up with this.
All right, don't worry about it, John, it's not that big of a deal.
No.
We'll just take David off,
Yeah.
and we have a
Noted.
new motion with the amended minutes. Do I have a second, Frank?
Second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Right?
Any opposed? One abstain. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the August, which one was it?
September 12th, last
September 12th, not the
Good.
5th, the 5th.
That was
we're
last
good.
week.
September 12th minutes.
I'll move.
I was like,
Larry and Larry did the second.
who was the second?
Oh, who-
I moved and Larry seconded.
Okay.
Dan Gore is the, you know,
Yeah,
Dan.
he's got it.
Okay.
I do. I've seen him before.
You met him, okay. All those in we're at that part. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, seeing none, chair votes in the affirmative, the minutes pass. So we did the minutes, we moved them up. Okay, so old business. Do we have any old business outside of this to get ready for the town council?
I think the only thing was seeing if we could find anybody to look at the foundation.
I have done my duty.
Your homework?
I did my homework. Do we want to talk about that now?
Yeah, I'm okay
Yeah,
with that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
They,
so-
That's under old business.
Yeah, relating,
And it would be good for
Sherry cannot make it. I got a call when I was ringing out the door from John, that's another reason.
Someone sitting here?
No.
You are right.
You
Oh,
are.
thank you, thank you.
Okay, so I know there was action items when we left the meeting for
Oh.
us to try
New
to,
one.
Is this a new one?
talk to people, and so I did my homework. And, I contacted a company called Arco Architects, they're out of Portsmouth. They are in the process of doing the Exeter Town Hall renovation. They are in the process of doing the Mount Vernon Town Hall renovation. They worked on the Franklin campus where the Veterans Home is going in, which was a historic building. So they have pretty impressive credentials, and for the record, David, I have no financial connection to. I just.
No, that was the
Okay.
only reason I asked that was,
Becky, what was the- what was the
I
name of
hadn't
the
realised
agency?
before that you and Steve were,
Arcove,
couple.
Arcove, Architects, out of Portsmouth.
Thank you.
The woman I spoke to, her name is Tracy Kozak, and I'll give you this sheet. She would like to come, her team is her as the architect, a structural engineer, and a construction manager. They, have given proposals to, the two towns in question. They will come down they are looking if they can get a tour October 2nd at 1 o'clock, if the building could be opened. I was gonna charge Sherry to see if we could have David there, Nick there. Or at least I wanna email her and tell her that's good. John Farrell as our liaison. I'd like him there. She'd only probably need a half hour. She kind of, gave me the way they approach projects, stabilization, safety, and then ADA compliant. So ADA compliant is not as big of an issue as we thought it was. I'm looking, I have no clue what she's gonna charge us. I'm looking for a $25,000 ballpark figure when you go in front of the town council. To propose someone coming in that has this kind of knowledge and background. And, just so everybody knows this, and this is why I keep stressing, we need to have experts in the field doing this rather than,
yeah.
and I'm not saying this again to be mean to the town, but because of her stature in the state, and we didn't know it, whatever she charges us, the state will reimburse us 50%. It would be through the Preservation Alliance.
Oh,
Even
Good.
better.
because, oh, wow.
Yeah, I
So
knew,
he
I
said-
knew people in the Preservation Alliance would often do that, I didn't realise it was 100%.
No, 50.
50%.
50.
Yeah, but that's.
So,
Yeah.
we have a chance to get our money back. She
Yeah.
was,
What date is she coming?
October 2nd, and David, I'd really like to just keep it to the core people. I don't want her answering questions, I want her doing her job if we're paying for it.
Okay,
What
October,
time?
Between
October
1 and 2.
2nd.
If you come, you're a bystander, you don't say a word. I'm sorry, but I don't wanna pay for us trying to have her not do her job.
And this is,
I think we need to know what the cost is gonna be though.
She is going to do a proposal once I tell her the date, it's fine. She can't give us a cost till she gets down here.
Okay.
And
but-
gives us a real assessment, but
what's
that
she
is
going
her
to,
cost built in.
what's she gonna look at?
She's gonna look at the town hall, the Morrison Meeting House.
With a
The-
view to what?
a view to get us open. She's doing 3 town halls in the state
Yeah.
of New Hampshire. She knows the program well.
Oh, yeah,
But can she tell us in advance what it costs for that, just to come?
She,
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming up with the $25,000 figure. Every town's different depending on the size of the building. And I said, would I be safe with a $25,000 figure, and she felt fine.
Oh, okay, so you did have.
Exactly
What
what's
kind of-
happening around this table is what I'm worried about, and why I kinda want it in your hands, the towns, because you're hiring, the town is hiring this individual, not the committee.
May I ask a couple of logistical questions about this first? So
Yeah.
this person, you're saying that
And
the
you can have all the contact information, I'll let her know
That's
you're
awesome.
calling and all this other
Mm.
stuff.
I can certainly work with her from here on out, absolutely, to make sure that that gets scheduled. Is this consultation, is this a separate line item, or is it included in the, is this are we entering some sort of contract by having her come down to?
I do not believe so, because I
Okay.
didn't go into that details because I didn't really know.
Great, I will ask those
So
questions.
that's why I'm saying this is a town,
You wanna
this
pass
is,
it down, I'll take a picture and we can move on from here?
right, this is
Love it.
town this is not, this is town.
Uh,
And she's got the credentials, you can, reach out to her, I don't know if I put her email in there, Kirsten.
You did not, but I can get it from this much.
Yeah, and, she's, email her and talk to her. I really like it kept because she's not going into contract with us. She's going into contract with them.
Okay. I'd still like to know what guidance she's been given about what we're going to try to do.
She has seen our minutes. She's been on the
She
town.
has.
She has reviewed all our minutes. She has reviewed Sampson and Weston. She has, all the information that I could provide her. I had asked Sherry for more pictures from the town. She's probably going to wanna request assistance from the town in the sense of the building department, any information we can give her.
I'm a little worried about what you're saying, Kathy.
No, I'm not, David, because she's got contracts with
I'm sorry,
Exeter
this is
Town
a-
Hall and
this-
Mount Vernon. She's done,
I'm not questioning that. What I am questioning is, we've got the Weston Sampson report, we've had a lot of discussion around the flowable fill, we've had no discussion yet about the possibility of just putting the beams back in there and restoring it as a historic building.
okay, I'm sorry, but the biggest issue that we have had is determining stabilization. A structural engineer, a architect, and a contract manager who do this for a living for other
I know.
towns is coming down, and
I
I
am
think
well
it's worth
aware
the
of
price.
that.
Okay,
I'm-
you know what, I'm done.
Wait,
I'm done.
excuse me,
I'm
excuse
done.
me.
I'm just not gonna argue.
Wait.
I'll just tell her we're not interested.
It's
No,
not.
no,
No, we are
We're
very
having
interested.
discussions here,
I
please,
know,
please.
but it's like.
Don't shut anything down, please.
I mean, we said we wanted
Cannot.
experts.
We
I
do.
didn't
Okay.
find one.
That's
And
one.
she sounds
That's
like the
one.
one that
Okay,
was
That's
one.
one.
did you get one? That
Yes,
you-
yes,
okay.
I got multiple, but wait, well, hold on a minute.
That's fine.
You're saying, you've already told it, you think 25,000 is a good figure. Wait a minute, hold on. We don't have authorization to spend any 25,000.
correct, and I told
That
her
has to
that.
go before the town council
That is
to make that
correct, and
decision.
that is why I am
Okay?
asking this.
And so, we could go before the town council, the town council say, hell no.
Then we just say, sorry, we don't have the money, you can't
Kathy?
come.
Do you mind if I step in for a minute here,
Yes,
Madam
please.
Chair? Thank you. And then,
I'm sorry, I
So-
didn't need to raise my voice.
so your goal today is to determine your presentation for the council on Monday.
Right.
If this is part of the suggestion of the presentation,
Yes.
you can put it forward as part of the suggestion of your presentation. It is then up to council to decide. So at that point, once council decides, then it can come back to you to debate.
I am putting an arbitrary figure in. I have no clue what she's gonna charge
I will
us.
call her tomorrow, Ray, I will call her tomorrow and find out, because Kathy charged the town with doing it. I will call her tomorrow and get more information, so you'll have that on Monday.
We would not agree that that is very important.
And,
I think-
and,
That is why
I will
I
ask the
charged
chair.
the town, Ray.
I'm not
That
sure,
is why I
Chair.
charged the town.
Thank
It
you,
is not my money.
thank you.
and there's a
The
possibility.
thing is,
I-
what
I-
he recommends is going to be highly
Possibility.
dependent on what direction we do the restoration.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in real quick. So I would like for myself to be at that meeting.
You can because, Vice Chair, I don't know if I can make it. And I was going to ask you to be there.
Okay, definitely, thank you. And I will present to them phase one. So we can get into this and you guys can understand what phase one is, right? Cause we were tasked last week when they came in, we have to show a phase one
Yes.
in a phase 2.
And she's willing to do that, and they've done that for Exeter, who's billed out because they wanna add additions and everything is 2.2 million. They came out with, they have, no, that was Mount Vernon. They have the phases of, you know, what they can do in phases. Mount Vernon is a different case because they have their, town meeting hall is on the second floor, so they have to put an elevator in. And, Mount Vernon has gone to the Preservation Alliance and they can only get $50,000, so they are doing this over a 10-year period.
Okay.
Exeter hasn't decided how they're doing funding. Everybody's doing fundraising and funding
Okay.
through the community too.
Okay.
So she has a lot of information, and I thought the most important information was the fact that we can get 50% of this return,
Yes.
that none of us knew about.
So if I have a clarifying question, so first of all, this sounds great, thank you for.
I mean, I was
explaining
charged to
that.
do this,
Yeah.
I did my job.
So just clarifying this, the 50% reimbursement for the Preservation Alliance, is that simply for her coming to visit and do,
Yeah.
it's not for everything?
No, no, I
Okay.
said
All
what?
right,
No, I
just-
mean,
that's what I assumed, I
No,
just wanted to clarify.
She comes in, she devises a plan, it says, you know, this building's worthwhile, here's the plan, here's the phases. The constructional manager that comes with the structural engineer and her will do the phase. They're doing the phases for everyone else, and they're doing the phases in stage. When she read the Smith and Wesson report, she thought she was getting into a hornet's nest because they were saying, oh, you gotta rip down and put down additions and the bathrooms are all bad and everything like that. And I said, whoa, 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 we're not that bad. So she goes, this makes this a whole different project.
So if I may, because David, you brought up a point which I think is important, when it comes to restoration, and I made a suggestion a couple of meetings ago, which I quickly backed away from, as far as moving the wall, okay? So,
That's, you know, we might, if structural
Well,
issues come in, so
right,
we
but-
have to be open to that.
but I do, from my understanding from hearing from Weston and Sampson, from hearing from Dave, I would be interested to hear what they say too, is that so far, when it comes to the floor, anyone who is saying we can't go back to the old way, that's the way I've understood it. It has to be the flow will fill.
I
Doesn't-
I
doesn't
think
have
she,
to be.
it doesn't have to, I think she's only concerned of when I told her there was really no crawl space underneath to get under, I think she's just concerned of how much humidity builds up under there and would it rot and
So
deteriorate
she can
over
give us an
time.
independent assessment.
That's
But I don't wanna dismiss your point.
No,
But
but
we have
the thing
discussed
is,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we should discuss that possibility, I believe, because if you go away from restoring those floor beams, you are cutting off any possibility of any future grants for historical preservation.
Even though the rest of the structure
Yes,
is
I
historical?
think you are,
I think that would be a nice clarifying,
yeah,
question to determine
Which she-
if,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
which I will
basically,
ask Tracy if
got-
that's the case.
this is something I put together. I mean, this is the picture of what was there in 2014. You still have to cross these. There were 45 of these timbers taken out. We had a count, and Champa counted late last week. We've got 40 of the timbers.
Are they in full shape, not cut?
They're in full shape. They can be dropped straight back in. At most, you're missing about 5, probably the 5 that had cracked and collapsed.
Well, that's something that
Yeah.
Kristen and I would like you to.
And as I say, my
relate.
concern is at least
Linda,
if you're getting her to come in.
No, not ask Linda, just say if we have the beams
Absolutely.
with the person
Yep.
that I was charged to go find a contract.
Yeah, I mean,
Which I'm doing.
Yeah, my point is, if you're getting her to come in and give us this estimate, at
I
least
would
make
love-
her aware of this is what we have.
Well, I think we would all like that. But I also think our charge wasn't preservation. It was to get the building back open and keep as much preservation as we could. I mean, we can't turn this into a preservation project, or we're never gonna get this done. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, it's not a full preservation thing, but what we still wanna do is cut off any possibility. I mean, if this works out, if we got all the timbers, it isn't gonna be that expensive to put it back.
No.
It's certainly gonna be a comparable thing, I would imagine, that is a flowable fill.
Chad, I'm sorry, you came in after.
Yeah.
Do you have any public comment or anything that you wanna say? All right,
Thank you.
so I gave my stuff, she's got her mission, let's move on.
Perfect. Okay, so, I did redo the presentation. Yes, it is a little thicker, but it is also broken out into sections.
Mm.
So, obviously, the page, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is all just about the history. That's more just for presentation fluff for the town. And then page 6, just a title page, which is saying what phase 1 action items are, right? Because one of the things we brought about is we need to put together some action items. So, action items needed. The needs, understand what is needed to meet the town code, understand the overall stability of the building, understand the cost of renovating, understand the cost of water diversion, and then understand the needs of needing a GM for the project. So we're on page 7.
Right,
Seven.
and that's what
Sorry,
I was charged with.
Six just gives you the idea where you're at.
Seven.
So I just did what I was told.
Perfect. Oh, sorry.
Would you like any suggestions on presentation from,
Yes, most definitely.
I would just delete slide 3 entirely.
Slide 3 and 10.
Yep.
The one that says, which one's 3?
And honestly,
Oh, there's the one from the website.
Or it could be an appendix.
I would not put it on I would not put it in your presentation deck.
Okay, okay.
You might be able to use it in the future, save this copy for future things.
Yep.
But don't have it in anything on Monday.
Okay, definitely.
And then also, actually, in all reality, I would
I was gonna
I
put,
would
delete
probably-
slide 4 as well.
yeah, I think for the
I would just keep
presentation,
5.
yeah, the presentation, I wasn't gonna really go over 3,
Yeah, just
Or
take them out of the
4.
deck for the screen.
definitely,
And
perfect.
just,
So-
I know for
You're
the
start with
sense of
6?
time, maybe we need to take out and just move on,
Yeah, we could do that too.
just for,
Yeah, take that out too.
Derek, excuse me.
Derek,
Yes,
Derek.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I know it's true.
I was in and out of the meeting last week because I was with the Arts Council across the hall, but Derek, I seem to recall that when we started talking about this package initially, I got the sense you were talking about putting an abbreviated slide deck
Yes,
together that's gonna be put up
yes.
on the
So,
screens, and that this would be handed over as a supplemental document for background information.
correct,
Is that
so,
correct?
exactly, so
Okay,
the
just wanted to
document I
clarify.
was going to basically give to, the town board to have and review at their leisure. But for the actual presentation piece, it would be slide 7, and then I can take out 8 since it's kind of just a intro slide. So it'd be 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Perfect. Is down there, how many slides is that, 20?
Could I ask you sort of to refrain from any further interjections?
Yeah,
On my
yeah.
behalf, could I ask
Yeah.
you to perhaps send me the final presentation deck tomorrow so I can
Yeah.
just take a quick look at it before
Definitely,
Monday?
that'd be awesome.
Thank you.
And also, can we include this as, an appendix?
On the agenda?
No, not, on the agenda, but in the presentation, that we have Appendix A, and this is just to be offline and for more information for the council,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Chad Franz, One Sunflower Lane, Chairman of the Town Council, I'm not here on behalf of the council. Just real quick, I think paring it down is good. May I offer a suggestion of when, after Cheerson reviews it, seeing if the timeline will meet so that, so the council typically receives the agenda and the packet, which
Okay.
has a lot of this other stuff in it, which is good for the council to review over the weekends. And that will allow the council, one, to process it, and there'll be a lot of great question and answers during that time.
That'd be
And I
perfect.
think that would be a good way to mindfully proceed, if
Perfect.
that's already.
So do the presentation and say we have an appendix, and we'll include the appendix in the packet, so it's public, so everybody can read what.
And they will go in the minutes.
Right,
Sorry
and
for
then,
interrupting.
right.
No, it's fine, if you get those both to me, I can take care of them.
Okay,
from there.
perfect,
Yep.
perfect.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So still on page 7, so we shared the action items needed, and then, on the opposite side of that page, we have the action items, right? So we have the code inspection that has already been completed by the town, yes?
Yes.
I just wanna clarify that. That was an informal walkthrough, and you guys will recall that I put a draft summary document together,
Yes.
based on my perspective. I've heard from, and I asked for feedback to make sure that I got it right and that I didn't miss anything or I didn't misrepresent anything. And I heard back from everybody but Nick and, the building inspector and the fire marshal, so I really have not had any feedback from them.
Okay.
And based on your conversation with Brian, or with Nick, there may be, some inconsistencies between what I wrote up based on my perception and what Nick intended.
Okay.
So I would just like this positioned as, an informal walkthrough. It wasn't an official inspection, and what I say here is that it's by no means, a punch list that would give us, if we met the requirements, the building would be, approved for occupation, so.
Great
And
point.
this is still in a draft mode because I have not heard back from the fire marshal and the, building inspector, so I'm loath to make it an official document.
Definitely. So I will update that to needed for now, and then when we present it in that way, we can just state that we've had an informal meeting with them, but nothing has been formally documented at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Question for you, Derek. Do
Yes.
you want Nick in the audience? Do you want him
I'm okay.
there for questions? Chad, do you think we should have Nick in the audience as the chairman? Or should we just let us present and then move on to the next meeting to discuss things if necessary?
I think having you present would be adequate.
Okay,
We can then ask the town manager to direct town staff to provide updates and such, and, if needed, come back before the council for further deliberation and discussion. Is that
Perfect.
all right with you?
that's fine. I just, no, I was asking you.
Yeah, if he's available, then so be it. But I don't know.
What's our agenda time?
15 minutes is what I've been told. Is that correct, Kirsten?
Okay.
15 minutes, yes.
Okay.
And that's a lot of material.
Which
we're
includes
covering in
Q&A.
that time.
Assume 10 minutes for a presentation and 15, and 5
Q&A.
minutes planned Q&A for this one.
Definitely. And we can, the presentation, I think, I kind of spoke about this last week too, right? So you don't want to speak to every point in the presentation. You want them more looking at it and you kind of paraphrase. So I'll do that, during the presentation. Just with you guys, I'll go into more depth. But code inspection, I will update to needed. I will also need to update because the next action item in step 1 is the structural engineer. I need to update that cost. I will increase that to 15 to 25,000,
Okay.
just to ensure for coverage.
Yeah, I have no idea what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Then we have step 2, obtain quotes for the renovation, obtain quotes for water diversion, potential need to obtain quotes for the structure if it comes in that it is not stable. And then potential need for quotes for a GM to general manage the whole project. Then 3 would be to present to town council and present the town with a vote for phase 1. And then phase 1 options stayed the same. It is the rental hall with the no kitchen and same benefits and drawbacks as we last met. And phase 1B is the same as well, the rental hall with the kitchen. Same benefits and drawbacks, nothing had changed from the original presentation. But slide 13 was added. It would be phase 1C, which is demolition of the building. So I have demolition, and there's none because the building wouldn't be used. And then the needs, the minimum would be demolition of the building, demolition of the patio, and removal of septic. Yes.
One of the things I looked up that I haven't shared with anybody yet, just for information, is on the tax record, the town tax record, there is an assessment of the building and land with a dollar value associated with it, and I can get that for you if you wanna have that as a point of reference.
Oh, perfect.
But if you're talking about demolition, it make sense to,
I'm hoping it
Say at
doesn't get
least
to this point, but
no, but I mean,
yeah.
there is,
Certainly not.
there's perceived value in that building, and I
Exactly.
think we all agree with that, and we share that
We share
view,
that.
but there is a dollar figure associated with it in terms of land and building value.
Perfect, that'd be awesome.
So I'll look that up and get it
I'm
for you.
Okay.
kind of being bad, but I'm
Yes.
letting Chad
I-
kind of be in the discussion here
I'm so
because,
sorry.
no, we want your input because
Um,
being on the council, so.
May I offer another suggestion?
Yes.
Putting together a one sheet fact sheet
Yeah.
of, have a couple columns, insert an Excel in a Word document and, option 1A is this,
Yep.
dollar amount associated, option 1B, dollar amount, with high, another column with, low and high, proposed costs.
Yep.
And just have like a one sheet, because I think that'll be really useful for the council and for the, public to see.
Okay,
So we kind of have
So-
that
so
with
like on
slide
the
15,
15,
but maybe
yeah.
adding a column so that if they're just looking at that, they know what phase 1A
That's
is.
what
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, because,
It's just a
the
little
last,
description of what,
the last
each one
thing
is.
you'll want is, someone on the council, ruffling through, okay, what's 1A, let me go back and read that. And
Definitely.
Just maybe 2 or 3,
Yeah.
or 4, topics,
Yeah.
per phase.
okay,
Actually, the way you just gave the presentation.
Yeah.
Was perfect, because you don't need to read slides. I'm sorry, that's the one thing in presentations that drive me crazy is like, I
People
can read the
line for
slide,
line.
yeah. Obviously, you don't know your stuff if you gotta read your presentation line for line. The way you just handled it was perfect.
Yep.
We've given you an option with a kitchen, we've given you the and they can ruffle through it and read it,
exactly.
and then we get to the nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah.
The only slide that I do suggest that we keep is the demolition one, because I think everybody needs to realize there's a
thank
cost
you.
to demolishing the building too.
Sorry.
if I may suggest, like with slide 9, we've all had these conversations, but none of the other people there have. And so they may wonder, why would we even consider the rental hall with no kitchen option? And I think that basically was born out of the thought that you would need some of that space and some of that plumbing to rework the bathrooms, and therefore you could go with a smaller, just food service area.
But he can,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go to, sorry.
Thank you very
Derek
Yeah,
much.
can,
thanks.
Derek can say
Yeah,
that.
we
Yeah, that's
already
my point,
said.
it's just that it might be
another
important to.
meeting.
He can give a
Yeah.
one-liner on every
It-
slide.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah.
So that they understand, well, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Well, 'cause the biggest
So,
thing with
doesn't
the-
have to be on the slide.
The biggest thing with the kitchen as well is if we have the kitchen, right, there's a significant cost factor to that. Because right now, what we've been told, and that there's no,
In stone.
actual pen to paper yet, but right, to say that this is law. But what we've been told is that the current stoves and everything that are in there would need to come out. Because it needs to be a,
Commercial grade.
commercial grade with a hood, with the proper ventilation in the room, with the proper sprinklers in that room, and it doesn't need to be sprinklers, just the suppressants that
Yeah.
come on those. But that's why that option would then go like this.
Yeah, and that's
And
the
I
perfect.
wouldn't be surprised you wouldn't get that question.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, and insurance costs are probably
So
higher if you have a
what
full
we're
kitchen,
hoping is
too.
the questions that come from the council, because they reviewed the packet over the weekend,
Mhm.
are the questions that are gonna answer all of our stuff that we aren't presenting. It gives us the option to answer these questions and get more information out
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Definitely. And I will update to kind of his notation. So instead of having it say phase 1A, phase 1B, I'll actually put what it is in there. So that way it's still that one page snapshot, but they don't have to go back and say, oh my god, what was 1A and C again? So I'll name just demolition, with kitchen, without kitchen.
You're perfect.
Okay, so that framework that I just sent you is
Yes.
the work that we had done earlier in the process. So, I don't know whether that's useful or you're just gonna format a slide deck,
Yeah.
or a slide with
I
that,
kinda
that
like
framework.
as simple as Derek just said it.
Okay,
With kitchen, without kitchen. We have to remember there's speed here involved as much as we are gonna be timed on a clock. The time we're
Honestly-
gonna get is the question and answer
Well, that's what I was just
period.
gonna say, because Christian was saying, 10 minutes for presentation, 5 minutes for Q&A. I would almost flip that, right? Like, do the presentation in less
Yeah.
than 5, which I think you
Because
could
I think the
do.
Yeah,
Q and A
And
is
then
gonna
leave more
need,
time for
right, the
Q&A.
Q and A is gonna
Yeah.
hit everything.
I can add this though into.
you don't have to, I'm just saying that that's a framework that I put together earlier on.
This is perfect. Yeah, I can add this into here just so it's a notation of like this is how
Or,
we follow.
but what Chad said was if you have that in the preliminary package,
They'll hit that right away.
and,
Yeah.
you know, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
So not in the
just a
slide deck, but in the supplementary
Right.
packet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that they have something they can review beforehand.
Yeah. So I'll add this to their review of one, not our actual presentation.
And if you want the template, I'll send it to you, but I mean, that's a simple enough
Yeah, no, it's super.
spreadsheet to pull together.
Kristen, are you doing any summary, are there?
I will not be there.
Okay, so if you find out how, okay, I think the only thing I'd like to get in the presentation that's not there is that if we move forward with another assessment of the building using a contractor or structural engineer, that we found out that we can be reimbursed up to 50%.
I will.
I will-
That needs to be part
I'll
of
make
it,
sure I note
because
that.
we've already spent $54,000 on something, and now we're doing it. Their perception will be, why are we doing it again?
So may I add a little bit of context to that? So actually, so I watched last week's meeting, and as did Dave, and actually we were really kind of glad that you landed on the next step is structural engineering, because if you look at that packet that Dave gave you, the next step in that packet was structural engineering. So
Yes.
your finding actually mirrors exactly, and in the broad sense, different vendor, different interpretation, but in the broad sense, reflects exactly what the town's stance was when the town stopped and the staff stopped. Not the town, you guys are the town too, but when the staff stopped, it's the exact same next step. So now you've looked at the building and come to this independently without really looking at that closely, and that is also where the town staff got to. So this step of structural engineering, Dave's proposal went, the proposal that Dave had went the next 2, 3, 4 steps, but the steps are very similar. So actually procedure-wise, everybody's very close together, which I think adds oomph to everybody's claim. And then if we contact I'll contact our cove tomorrow, and I'll send all of you a quick synopsis of my phone call with the facts.
I think what this does is pulls people that are familiar and obviously qualified to be doing historic structures because of their resume, into where the staff stopped was structural engineer, general contractor, architect.
And that's the next step. So it's not repeating Weston and
So,
Sampson.
no,
It
it's
is the
more
next step beyond.
sure.
They did the building analysis. They did not do the structural engineering yet.
Now, it's not a guarantee we're going with these people,
Not at all.
but it's a
It's worth a
start.
conversation.
And, I don't know if you're welcome to ask her if there's anyone competitive that does the same thing, so we're not stuck. or if this is just a start to get it started, I'm fine with whatever the town, because this is not the committee's, you know.
I'll work out
purview.
the details with her and report back what I
Right,
find to all of you.
Because this starts getting into town and taxpayer money, and it's not our authority at this point.
Kathy, one of the kind of overarching, discussion points as we've gone along is making sure that it's, you know, it's a safe environment, that we don't expose the town to undue liability, exposure. As part of, and I was glad to hear that part of what they address is the ADA component. Was there any discussion about hazardous material in your conversation?
I
with
did
her?
not go into that. I'm sure she's gonna figure that all out, cause she must know that, you know.
Well, she said safety.
Right, she said safety's first, so I would assume they know what
Okay.
they're going in for
Right.
lead. The buildings that they've worked on, that she's been a part of, I'm sure that they had to see, I mean, they took the campus out of Franklin, that was some old, I don't know how old it was, the 1800s, and they revamped that whole thing, that's gonna be a veterans home.
Yeah.
So they can't put veterans in there if there's lead paint and hazardous materials and all that stuff, so
Yeah, I'm
I'm
asking,
sure.
this is kind of a rehearsal question.
Right,
like-
I'm sure I'm sure she's aware of that and what state. I am also not speaking for her, but speaking for what I've found out through conversations, is that because we are preserving an historical structure, there's a lot more leeway than we know about, and these people know that.
Okay, good.
They know what the state regulations are, and that's why she made ADA compliant the last on the list.
Okay, good.
So for context, when the Exeter Town Hall project was just starting last year, when I started working with the town, and when Doug and I both started working with the town and came in on Dave on use of this, because Dave's facilities, Doug and I were talking about use and management. The Exeter Town Hall is one of the projects that I was looking at, because it had just been funded and it was just starting. So for context, it is a likely better funded project than this will be, but it is the same kind of sentiment in repurposing an old building that is in mediocre condition, mid-condition, and then trying to bring it back, so.
Yeah, and she was very shocked that we even got, approval, I don't know if approval's the right word, but that Brian said that even without sprinklers, we could have 99 people in the building and 65 with tables, and she said that could set you up with another phase. So she understands that that is her, they understand that we don't have, we're not gonna give them $1 million to get started, you know, whoever they hire, or whoever they go out to contract for, or whatever it is. She understands that it's a phase, and they will do that work for us. They will phase the project.
So, thank you. So just to clarify, you know,
Yes.
when you mention that is when you can mention, and if we go with certain vendors, we get 50% reimbursement.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say if we go with any vendor, but they gotta know unfortunately, I bet they gotta know the games.
Exactly.
Let's find out,
sounds-
before we speculate on those, let's find out the actual facts on that reimbursement program before we
Yeah.
speculate on where that
So-
goes.
Well, she was the one that told me, so I'm sure she could give you all the
Absolutely,
answers.
yes, let's just get those down on paper for everybody before we start speculating on contractors and
Definitely.
details.
Definitely.
Mhm.
And then the last slide, 17, is just going back to the note that was made last week of the town council's question about how it would be funded. So this is a new slide, so I'll cover it in more detail with you guys. And open to suggestions too. These are just things that came off the top of my head. From a marketing perspective, you know, putting ads in the Londonderry Times, or doing mailing flyers that go along with the Londonderry Times, or something of that nature. Putting some flyers out at local businesses, showing at town public events, and then the signs and funding thermometer outside of the meeting house building. And then taking this presentation, once we all have it down and pat, to present on the town website for people to really look through and understand. I don't know if that's even an option, but, and then the funding itself, right? If it was the residents, obviously it'd be straight taxes. Local businesses do donations of services, but you know, if we get the right vendors in here, possible donations of goods itself, right? If we need HVAC, maybe a local company will donate some of the HVAC stuff. Grants, you know, government financial grants, and then funding and financial donations. This would be stuff like a GoFundMe account like we spoke about last week, going to local businesses to get some financial donations, and then meeting house events to try to pull together donations as well.
Can I make a suggestion?
Almost definitely.
Can we have funding last? Our ideas of funding last, but our options before that?
I think it is.
That is
It
how
is
it is
last.
currently.
Yeah.
That is how it is?
Oh, yes,
yeah, I'm
yes.
sorry, I might have
Yeah.
gone across.
Sorry, yes.
Cause I
So-
say phase 2 action items.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are all gone.
Yep, so phase
Okay.
two,
That's
phase two
where I
will
was
be
confused.
presented.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no, that's perfect then.
So if
Sorry.
I may, on
No,
this
definitely. I did
slide-
change just, oh, sorry, I apologize. Just so you know too, I did change,
I was still had all the other appendix stuff.
so for phase two, I do have a funding and marketing page in there too, but the funding is a little bit different, setup, but I figured I wouldn't cover that now because it's not until.
Do
the end.
you think we should, cause I'm looking through it quick, is there use in there, what we determined to go for use? Are you gonna go through that? Cause that was one of the things that they wanted, if we do make this miraculously happen,
Yeah.
it could be used for retirements, anniversaries,
Yes.
baby showers. I think we
It's in
need
that.
to
So I-
just,
I didn't
I
go into
just think we
detail.
need a one-page, here are some ideas we've come up with. And you don't even have to talk to it, but just that it's in the presentation as a slide that is just real simple, like a chart, like Chad.
Yeah.
Like, here are all the uses we're thinking it could be used for.
Yeah, so I put.
Because then people will hear that, oh yeah, you know, that would be really cool, and
Yeah, and I figured I could speak to that too, cause I do have in here, like, let's just say the option without the kitchen, building stays as is, blah, blah, blah. The options would allow the public to rent their building for any use, and then the kitchen, and then, but in the benefits, it's another space for the town and public uses,
right,
rentals.
just that simple,
And I think this is an important one too, another location for the town to use for public needs during poor weather conditions, which is, you know, a cooling building.
Yep.
Cause I know when we had our first meeting, they were talking about cooling buildings and warming buildings, et cetera, for, hot weather and cold weather when people either lose electricity or don't have AC or their heat's out, a place to go for public emergencies.
but yeah, just like a maybe not even, just bullet points.
Yeah,
3 bullet points of what we came up with, the potential uses.
yeah, I can do that, definitely.
And that would make them, cause that was part of our charge, if we opened it up, how would we,
Utilize.
And I think in a broad scope, we're talking about a function space.
Yeah.
right,
And you're,
and right, and,
Yeah.
but here are 3 of our, you know, we want a function space, we wanna open to, there's many more things, but here, you know, open to the public to be used, art, shows and, you know.
Well, I'd like to amplify that a little bit and talk about visual and performing arts, because as I thought more about this, and we don't need to put it in the presentation, but I've already shared with you that the Arts Council can start plugging programming in right away. Areas that we don't get involved in where we might be able to utilize that space, and Dan, I'm looking at you, but you know, small ensemble, dramatic performances, maybe some
Certainly.
dance recitals, you know.
Just getting a nice
I think-
quartet to come in and
yeah, I
we
think
could sit in
smaller
there.
scale
Yeah.
arts events, such as, you know, what the Arts Council often does. Right now, it's too small for a dance recital or a theatrical
Okay.
production of any size. That's why I suggested trying to make it a little bigger, but that would be more of
Okay,
a
well,
phase
that's
2
fine.
kind of thing. That,
Okay.
Well, we
but
could-
I do. There's plenty of arts things that could happen in it right now.
Yeah.
Right, it could be
No.
an art
I mean-
showing like you guys used to do, remember, and the
Yeah.
Grange and all that stuff. Plus, I couldn't see, we could have, like, the high school ensembles come over and people could buy tickets, you know what I'm saying? I asked, just a little bit of tidbit of information, I asked Justin what his estimate is for the cost of maintaining it with nobody in there. And it's costing us about, really rounded figure, probably about $6,000 a year to keep it without any foreseen maintenance issues, like the
That's-
roof collapsing,
That's
you know, or
insurance
something.
and everything, or?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what he's saying.
Perfect.
And like the skunk invasion last winter.
Right, anything unforeseen, but
So, if I may, on
That's
slide
what happens
17,
Yes.
and I'm a kind of a grammar stickler.
Oh, yeah, no,
Quick
definitely.
typo adds just one D.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
perfect.
And then funding instead of founding, there's
Yep.
in there. And then,
spell check is not your friend.
well, they're
No,
both words.
especially when you're doing
They are
this-
both words.
Especially
but,
when you're
um,
doing this like last minute right before you.
No,
leave.
and please, Derek, we all appreciate so much.
Oh, no,
the
no, no, I
formatting and everything.
appreciate it.
The only other thing I would mention, because I do believe, and I've said this before, that local business, there could be opportunities from the Teslas or New Balances of the world, right? But they wouldn't call it a donation. They would call it a sponsorship or sort of corporate contribution or whatever.
Corporate
Just
gift.
it's
Yeah,
a
okay.
semantics thing, but
Yeah.
that's not how.
And,
That's not
and
the
a
way
lot
they
of corporations are very nervous about capital improvement campaigns. So, we have to think about that when most of your large foundations don't wanna get into capital improvement.
Particularly
No,
not
but
the
they
first
do like
phase
they
Right.
do like to put their name on things.
That they
So I'm
do,
not suggesting
but
that this would be
they-
the Tesla Reverend
Oh, no,
meeting
I
house.
realise that.
But I am suggesting they might
Having
do
their name
within
associated with it as a
But I think-
within the
sponsor.
building could be the
Sponsored
Tesla
by-
stage or whatever, right? Like
And I think
they,
it's
so.
fine presented.
Yeah, no,
Because the way you
I'm,
presented to us
I'm
was
not that
perfect.
dumb.
Yeah, short, sweet, quick.
Right. Let them ask the questions and then you can get the answers.
Exactly.
Derek, be forewarned, I'm a ruthless layout and copy editor, so don't take offense.
No, no, no,
I'm going to do your presentation, I'm just going to, it's gonna look sparkling.
no, I
It's a
appreciate it.
wonderful presentation, but I'm a ruthless editor.
No, I am perfectly fine with it. This is literally something that I did
It's
a
great, it's
couple
awesome.
hours before work each day, so it works out perfect.
I think you did a phenomenal job.
phenomenal.
No, thank you.
That's what I'm saying, just don't be,
Don't take
it's
it
wonderful.
personally.
Oh,
Don't
no,
take it
no, no,
personally.
definitely.
So that leads me to this question. I don't think you need me to get involved in that presentation at all, except I'm happy to do.
You can just be the support at the table.
That would be awesome. Yeah, so if they have additional questions, I would love.
And then
Some
maybe
support.
if the question does pose itself, Larry, you could get into what you just talked about with the
Yeah,
potential
so
for arts
I'm
and
happy to
stuff
sit
like
up there
that.
with you,
Yeah,
but you'll do a fine job. You know, so
Absolutely.
I don't add any value to that.
no, I appreciate it. And I will do, I'll go back and do the spell checks tomorrow.
Remember, it's not.
Well, you know,
your
Chris is
first
gonna do
time.
that anyway.
Usually I run everything through Grammarly too,
Right, right.
because I even do it on my emails. I have them go through Grammarly because whenever I type, I just think and type
Type
so
so
fast, I
fast,
don't
yeah.
even think about it.
You can go in and have, what's the other command now they have? Rewrite the sentence and all those other
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
but sometimes Grammarly, it does mess you up, like when you do
Yeah.
ads, it thinks you're trying to say ads.
Right, you're adding
It just-
something.
It just changes it.
Yeah.
May I ask you a question about
Yes.
this? Were you planning on including phase 2 in the packet you distribute yet or not?
I was going to give it to them because I know, not present it, but give it to them because when he was here last week, I constantly forget.
John Farrell?
Thank you,
John
John.
Farrell was here last week with
Yes.
Steve the week before.
So when he was here, he
Or
did
Chad
say,
would be
you know, what are the thoughts for phase 2?
May I make a suggestion?
Most definitely.
Based on the vote this week at the SAU and on Moose Hill Plan,
Yes.
SAU is no longer a relevant part of this conversation. You're going to need to do some revisions on that. May I
I thought we
suggest,
took that out.
it's still in here for now? May I
No, I
suggest?
think we only kept it in just because the town said it, but
We were
Yeah.
gonna,
we could take that out.
May I suggest just changing this phase 2 options to a few bullet points of what the options would be?
Okay.
And then leaving on that for this, because looking over, I think the first, and this is just my advice
Yeah,
as
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who presents to the council a whole lot.
Yep, that's why I.
The first part is in really good shape. I think the second part needs a little bit more. The phase 2 stuff I think might need a little bit more working before presenting.
Yeah.
I think the reasoning, for the, SAU
Mhm.
in the
It's what people
presentation.
said, yeah.
Right, was to, we realized it was dead on
Yeah.
arrival, but we just wanted to keep it as, this is what one of the suggestions came from the public.
Yep.
So that we address the fact that people in the public said.
Absolutely, and I think if you do a single slide with just some
Yeah,
bullet
bullets.
points, that'd be great. I wouldn't go into the costs yet because of those costs are, looking at the costs for the first half, much more kind of eye connected to revisions. The other ones are very
Yeah.
conceptual now.
Correct.
And if you're going to put some of those this is a draft document, so some of those numbers are highly conceptual, but people could look at them in too much detail at this
Yeah.
point.
Hmm.
So again, I think a single slide, just outlining where you're going next,
Yeah,
would be my suggestion rather than putting this whole thing into the record if you're not going to talk about it. Because the other thing is, if you're going to put this whole thing in the record, we're gonna attach this to the agenda packet. You have public comment before your presentation.
Everybody can read it.
Everybody
Yeah.
might ask you, people might jump in and ask questions about that, and you're like, well, we're not talking about that tonight, and then people will ask why. So if it's not ready for prime time yet, then keep talking about it, keep working on it, and present the first 20 pages of this with those edits that you talked about, because that is a strong presentation.
okay, so for
Does that make
the,
sense?
yeah, so for phase two, I'll just put quick bullet points of,
Maybe one column of a couple of things that you guys talked about, the expanded
Yeah, the
rental
expansion
hall,
one.
yeah, the expanded rental hall.
the second floor, eventually this, thinking about, the long-term utility needs was something else.
Yeah.
And then maybe a couple bullet points of those more advanced funding options,
Yeah.
where you would go next step for funding.
Perfect.
Yeah, and actually, one thing we haven't talked about much, and I'm not suggesting we do that tonight, is the second floor. We haven't.
Well, we've kind of said, that's gotta go
And
into
that's
the
phase
things
two.
too.
Yeah, but we
Phase
even
two will
in
be
our
on-
Or
phase two
even
options,
phase
we
three,
didn't even
we
talk
don't
about
know
it,
when
so,
the
yeah.
second floor is coming
Yeah.
back to us.
So
Yeah.
show the future possibilities, but maybe not with quite so much detail yet.
And
Yeah.
what was the spell checking again?
Add,
Just- I'm gonna,
Oh, it was slide
Ads in the,
17.
ads in the Londonderry Time and founding or something.
Yeah, that's
oh
right.
yeah, it
Slide
was.
17.
It's on the same slide.
17,
17.
yeah.
Okay, are we good
That's
to
what it was.
go and we move on, or do we still have more discussion regarding the presentation?
Just so I don't forget.
If I could just clarify, so Derek is gonna do an amazing job at presenting this, and I think it would be helpful if you would, be both moral support and, the rest of us are gonna be there, right?
You can be there if
Yeah,
you,
Oh, of course.
yeah.
Public meeting.
Well, and we're the committee, even if we're not
Right.
speaking, we're.
I intend sitting there, but I don't intend saying
I
anything.
don't know if I'll be there because of work, but
I just wanna support,
that's what I
Yeah,
picked.
really.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
You know, but they know they have our support.
It starts at 7.
Okay
right?
then,
I think so.
if, okay, so, so it would be, what would be the next town council meeting?
The next one is Monday.
No,
Oh, after
After
that,
that.
October 7th.
okay, that's why I picked such a late date for this woman and you
Mhm.
guys to meet. Because, first of all, like I said, I'm not the town, I can't contract her, I can't spend the money, I can't even tell her if she's hired or not. But, I was just doing this as factual information. But if this works out and you get her, and she needs time to put everything together, let's say 2-3 weeks. And, will we still have ability to go in front of the council? Or will our charge be done?
Oh,
No, I
that
think
is a
that
lingering
the-
question.
The charge the charge doesn't have an expiration deadline on it.
Okay,
The charge simply says that you need to have a plan, you need to present to the council before October 1st. It doesn't have an expiration date of October 1st,
Oh, okay.
as far as my understanding. Council may contradict me, but I'm
so
fairly certain that I understand this properly.
if we find out that there is can we ask for an extension?
You can certainly ask for an extension
So that's just something to keep in the back pocket in case we need it.
and so the council will also likely direct you on, all right, based on this, next steps. It could be continue to work on this, it could be keep going the way you're going, it could be focus on this one area. But they will give you their direction in that meeting and they will be very clear about it. So
Okay.
I think the 5 of them will have some information for you moving forward from that.
Okay, and our meeting's Monday the,
Monday the 23rd, 7 p.m. across the way.
And then we're back here on Thursday. for-
Right, to
for
probably do a debrief
kind of thing.
on
Yeah.
this.
Kathy, can I backtrack 2 feet? You gave me the name of the company you talked to. What is the lady's name? Thank you.
Tracy.
Yep.
Okay, yes, Larry.
I think you did a great job of ferreting out that information with her, and that's a great connection, but I don't wanna overlook, something you said earlier, Ray. You said you had identified some other.
Yeah, that was gonna ask Ray to present them so that we reach out to all of them.
Okay, so do you have anything you wanna share?
Cause you said you
Well,
had,
I
you
had-
said.
I haven't reached out to-
Specifically said you had 3 additional people.
Yeah, I haven't
Excuse me,
reached out to
yes,
anybody,
yes.
but I just did a little, first off, I had mentioned previously about the town of Salem, and they're in the process of redoing their town hall, their old town hall. And I happened to be going by there the other day on my down the way to Topsfield to visit a friend I was in the Coast Guard with,
I was
and the,
checking to make sure I didn't have a game, sorry. Apologies, I was just putting the
He was
meeting in my
just
phone
checking
and
to see if
making-
he had to leave.
making sure I didn't have a
To
game
leave.
that day too.
Okay.
so I'm driving by on Route 97, and there's a car in the parking lot at this building, which really there is, okay? So I pulled in. There was a gentleman coming out of the building, okay? He's a member of the Salem Historical Society, and he's loading some stuff in his car, and he says, oh, I explained what my interest was, and he said, oh, would you like to come in? Well, naturally, I said yes, okay. So it's sort of the same size building, same idea. It was an old town hall. So the main bottom floor, they got holes cut in the floor, okay? And they're moving everything out of there, and they're moving it upstairs, because they had all kinds of stuff in there. And they're gonna be replacing the whole floor. This is the one where they already got 350,000, another 46,000. So that's kind of what they're working on. So he takes me upstairs, and upstairs is this beautiful architectural frame for the roof and everything. We got kind of the same thing here, but this is even even better. Okay. So anyway, he gave me some information, basically only just from the
Did you get his card? So we could reach out to him? If he's the construction?
I believe I did. I don't think I have it here. Okay, so moving on. I was at Strawberry Bank,
Okay,
my wife and I. We were going through all the buildings and everything, taking some pictures and so forth, taking some pictures of some of the stuff where they left it exposed. Okay, so I go back in the visitor center on the way out, and I asked them, I said, look, this is what we're involved with in the town of Londonderry. Can you give me a contact? In other words, somebody that's familiar with old buildings, architectural, all of that. And so they gave me a couple of, this is the gentleman that I spoke to, because he called me later, either the following day. And he's the head curator for Strawberry Bank. So I asked him, I said, is there someone that you guys work with? And he gave me this information here of a lady. I haven't talked to her, but
well, why don't you give that to Kirsten so she can contact her as well?
yeah.
I'm just gonna take a picture and give it right back to you.
Yeah. Beyond that, I talked to, no, I'll take this back. I did not talk to, this is the contact at the Salem Historical Society, okay?
Yeah, but that, I know you
Well-
take the picture and have it, but they can't really, they're not a structural engineer, and that's kind of where we are.
Okay. So then, I did some other research in regards to who does this kind of thing with old historic buildings. This is Colonial Restoration. They're out of Fiskdale, Massachusetts, okay? Now, once again, I haven't contacted them, okay? But we were talking about people who were, have expertise in old buildings. And I think it would be good if we talk to some of these people. I mean, you've already done that, which is great. Here's another one. Trumax Timber Frame Woodworking out of Barnstead, New Hampshire. I'm not sure that's really necessarily good, because I think they kind of work more like with old furniture and stuff like that.
Okay. So this would- they'd probably-
Here's another one, Hames Shop Joinery Post and Beam, out of Andover, New Hampshire. I haven't contacted these people, I only just, got the information. I just think that,
Well, you contacted them kind of like I did too, just getting information.
exactly. So, it's good to get several opinions.
So, what do you think, Ray, then, if you've contacted all these people, should we put in the presentation for a dollar figure if we want them to come and, review the plan?
Well, yeah, I understand what you did, and I don't necessarily,
That's why.
I don't
I'm
necessarily
just-
disagree with that.
We have to give them a dollar, we have to give them some idea that we need money to do this.
Absolutely. I just don't want to scare the town council and say, oh, wait a minute, we're not going to come up with that money.
Well, you know what, actually, I really would like to hear that, because then we know where we stand.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
At this point, that's good information. David, you would send Sherry a link to a list of, preservationists and that sort of thing. I mean, that's background information.
Yeah, I already
Is-
sent that link, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm acknowledging
By
that.
the way, this is the building that I'm talking about in
Yeah.
Salem.
So,
I
Okay.
think some of these people are already on that list.
Yeah, let me finish this point if I may. So this is information gathering, that we don't need to present to the council. It's, if it comes up, we can mention that we're gathering information on people that might be resources for us, and if we move on, then we can do more research.
Frank, you okay?
Yeah.
You just
You want to step out?
That's snuck up on me.
What is it? I'm gonna go.
That's all I had to say. I knew Ray had done some work, and I thought it would be good to find out what.
Yeah.
No, I heard him, that's what I was gonna ask him, because he specifically said
Yeah.
that he had 3 individuals that he was gonna recommend.
Good.
Yeah.
And I'm not shutting it down to say that
I
it's
wasn't
just
saying
my person, I'm just saying, I did what I was charged, I was told to go find somebody, I did, Ray, you
Yeah,
did what
and
you
I'm-
were charged, and I think but I think at this point, it's out of our hands in the sense of, nobody on this committee has the authority to hire anyone.
No,
Right,
we understand
right,
that.
Yeah.
Right,
But if
and-
somebody asks Monday night, what have you done about looking at these things? We've at least taken the
Yeah.
first step.
And so maybe we don't ask for a dollar figure that night, maybe
I don't think it's anything we put on the table to ask for money
right,
for.
and so we don't go
At
in
this
for a dollar figure, but I think maybe we should give them warning that this is where we're heading.
I disagree,
and-
I think
and
because
are you-
there is, at some point, there's gonna be money involved, and
Yes.
so I think you gotta put something
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
And even $25,000 less 50%
Right,
is
Well-
not much. I mean,
Well,
$12,500 is
right,
not that
and
much.
I think Mike sat in numerous meetings and said that the town would commit
Yes.
funds to this project. So it's delivered as a complete guesstimate
Mhm.
until we get more information, and we won't be able to get it until later in October. And then we'll present you with a dollar figure.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I just wanted to clarify one other thing. I'm not recommending anyone. I just think, like you said, that it's important that when we speak to the town council to say, this is what we have done, this is what we're looking to do, and we will continue to do some of this. And one other thing in regards to the 50% possible reimbursement from the state. I think we got to understand, when you're talking about the Preservation Alliance, which is a state organization, nonprofit, and what they do is they have 7 to save every year, okay? Historic buildings throughout the state of New Hampshire, and they choose 7 to assist both with grant and other ways. They can assist us anyway, but let's not,
Well, I
say that
think
we definitely.
I think you're gonna find out,
I
that
think I'm
was
gonna
one
find
of
out
your
if-
statements, that you were gonna put to paper exactly what that 50% meant.
That is
And
what-
I think, Ray, that's probably how they determine who the 7 are.
Yes,
So
yes.
the other thing is,
But
One-
that's my humble opinion, that's not fact.
one thing to keep in mind during this process is that there is, once you start spending money, there is contracts and bid processes to think about. We just need to make sure as a town that we're following our purchasing and our bid policy with
Right.
regards, particularly because it seems like most of the people that you're interested in are not current contractors with the town.
Well, that's because we've never taken a
Exactly.
project like this.
Probably
Exactly.
never been through
So this
anyone
is,
with a-
there's going to be, the town does have a purchasing policy which is going to be, impacted, that is going to have an impact on selecting people. Now, again, purchasing policy and bid policy does not mean always the absolute bottom barrel dollar figure. It has to do with a number of complicated factors. There's a threshold for which you need to get multiple quotes, and there's a threshold for which you need to go out to bid. So as we move through the process of spending money, that's something that everybody is just going to have to be cognizant about. And based on the conversation tomorrow, I'll touch base with Justin and see where we're falling in that procedure, and I'll update you on that as well.
But this committee is not gonna put out bids themselves.
No, we
This is
can't.
gonna have to
No,
go
no, no,
through
It
the
has to go
town.
through the town.
And that's why I'm saying that before the committee makes recommendations, it's helpful to make sure that you're making recommendations that are in line with our purchasing policy.
Which we're
Personally,
gonna have to get approval for.
I'd like to have 3 vendors to
We love
choose
it.
from. I don't want one.
So that's why I'm gonna start by speaking with, I'm gonna give Tracy a call. see
I mean,
what she
I
says.
don't know if it's like $1,000, you know what I'm saying, like some people
And that's what our
charge it up.
threshold,
Right, and we
Consultant
need
fees,
fees,
yeah.
right. So we need to find out all that information,
Certainly
because
do.
I didn't go into that. I just said, what do you think is the average cost for a report to even get it started? An assessment is what she termed it as, is an assessment. And she goes, I can't give you a dollar figure till, I start getting the information and doing the negotiation. Because I can't do the negotiation. I'm just one of all of us. And, and you can't do the negotiation, and David can't do the negotiation. So I think we're on the right track, that we actually did our homework and came up with possible names to move the thing forward. And I think Mike has kind of basically said, in all the meetings I can remember, that they're not gonna, if we came in and said, because I think Ann was the person that approached him on it, that people that are doing the building over in Derry, would not come here for free. We would have to pay them some money for the assessment, and Mike was comfortable with that.
Yeah, you have to pay
It might not
anyone
be,
to do
right.
it that
Right.
is professional
Sure.
and understands
So
and knows
I think
anything about it.
I think we've already set the table that there are funds available to us. It's just, I didn't know if we wanted to say it could go up, but if we just stay away from it and say we might need funds in the future because we're moving this process forward, then leave it at that and not come up with a specific dollar figure.
That's right, that's right. We've done what we're supposed to do. Derek did an excellent job putting this thing together. I think it's a great presentation. So let's just go with it and see how they come back to us.
So I would say we're halfway through new business. Does anyone have anything
Only
else?
half.
It's you,
Only
actually.
half?
Very close to
If I may.
Okay,
So one of the things that came up last week when there wasn't, was access to the building, and I just wanted to clarify a couple of things with access to kind of get everybody on the same page. So as you're moving forward, you know, there has been, I think, at least 5 and possibly 6 times since the conception of this committee that either Dave or myself has opened up the building for us. Or taken a walk around the outside, like with you yesterday, right? So we just wanna make sure that we continue to give you the access that you need, that we've given so far. And so I'm just going to hand this either way. Could you leave one on Frank's thing? We've written down a process for gaining access to the building because as we move forward, if the council charges you with moving forward, we think it's gonna be, a pretty,
Oh, this is great. 'Cause
So-
I actually haven't been in yet,
Yep.
so then, yeah, it's-
so if you need to
Okay,
gain
you got
access
it.
to the building, we just ask that you give us 3 days' notice. One of us will be able to, Dave Wally manages access to the building, he holds the key. When he's not around, he usually passes it to me. So for example, in case of emergency, there's a backup key with Ricky as well. So we do have access to the building, we just ask that if we're doing a scheduled visit, we get 72 hours in advance because of our schedules. We ask that you email those 4 people. I'm just looking, making sure I spelled Londonderry right in all of them, just spell Londonderry right in all of them.
yeah,
Dave, Sherry as your staff member, me as basically backup and the person who does weird things around here, and Cameron, so the town manager has some awareness of it. And so just let us know the date and time that you wanna go in, why. So Dan, if you're like, I've literally never seen the inside, can we set up a time to go see the inside? 100% valid. Persons requesting access, including the name and a contact for any contractors. So this is when if somebody needs to actually start doing any sort of physical work in the building, whether it's like a consultation, we just need to know that they are licensed and insured, and so we can look up the business. And then a description of work to be performed if they're performing any work or service that they're doing, and the anticipated condition of the building after work is completed. We just need to have a plan for that. And I'm gonna go back to that skunk I mentioned earlier. So last winter, a family of skunks decided to nest under the Reverend Morrison house and make themselves comfy, and it was super fun for me when I kept going in.
where are they living?
Somewhere underneath. Sorry, guys. Hey, somewhere underneath.
Oh, they probably
And
got
so,
into
for
the-
example, if normally cutting a hole in the floor wouldn't be an issue, but now that we know that the skunks like it, a hole in the floor with plywood over it, they're just gonna come up again this winter, and then I get more skunks, which is not my favorite thing. So that's one of the things, just so we can make sure we're talking through the steps. Happy to continue to give access as you need it. Just please, we ask that you kind of respect our operational timeline and the fact that every single person in this building is short-staffed, is doing multiple jobs right now, and we love it, we love doing it, and we'd love to keep getting you in there. We just need a little bit of time and notice and knowing what we're doing while we're there.
Okay,
Yep.
do we want this in the minutes, or,
It's up to you, that's just really for you.
because I don't know if we put it in the minutes, we'll all
No,
the
you
general
probably don't
public
wanna
and-
put
This is an operational directive to the
Yeah.
committee, so,
Okay.
I just read out what it was, so, if you wanna append it, that's fine, but
No, we don't have to.
I know
just-
who the 8 of you are, so I know who, if I get an email from one of the 8 of you, that it's a committee request, so, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you for
if,
that.
on the last question, any more questions? Because we're going over again. And I know Derek needs to get out, so, so are we good? Everything's good? Minutes have been approved, we're moved?
Did we
We are
approve last month, week?
I can.
Yep, we did.
We did? I must have
So
been
we're-
asleep when that happened.
So, we're
Sherry,
good with the
He's gonna
presentation.
send it to me.
Yes.
We're gonna have editing done, should be good to go for
Refresh that
tomorrow. Anything I'm missing?
I don't think so.
All right, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Frank
second.
and Larry second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.